Hi guys and welcome. It's been a little while since I've done a longer video. I've had a lot going on at home, but today I thought I'd put together a video of things that I've recently purchased, and I'm also going to use an eyeshadow today. It's been around for quite a long time and I purchased them probably about a year ago now, but I haven't done a video on them, so I thought I would put that in today's video. So my skincare is done for the morning and the last step is sunscreen, and I added a little bit more sunscreen probably about 15 minutes ago. So for the primer today, I'm going to use the Sisley one, the double tinture. This is a really lovely primer. Those of you that have watched my other videos know that I also really like the Chanel one, the mattifying one. But this one also does a really beautiful job as well, and it does give a really lovely base for your foundation. Now, the foundation that I'm going to use today is fairly new on the market, and it is from Jones Road, and it's the Tinted Moisturizer. So I'm just going to let this primer sit for 2 or 3 minutes, and then we'll take a look at this foundation. So the foundation is actually a tinted moisturizer, and it's the Jones Road, the Just Enough Tinted Moisturizer. Now, in this tube, you do get 50 ml of product. I think that this is made in the USA, yes, and it also has a shelf life of 12 months from date of opening. Now, I was a little bit nervous getting a tinted moisturizer. I have oily skin, and even though it is the middle of winter here in New Zealand, my skin is still oily. Now, I have used this probably at least 6 or 7 times since I got it. I think this is just absolutely beautiful. Now, because it's a tinted moisturizer, it's not going to give you full coverage or even medium type of coverage. It is a strong light type of coverage, and what it does, it just evens out your skin tone really beautifully. It wears really well, and it is just super flattering on my mature skin. So what I'm going to do is just put a little bit on the back of my hand and hold it up so you can take a look. So this is what it looks like. It is quite thick, but you can see it's just starting to slightly run down my hand. So I don't think I showed you, but it just has a twist off top, and you just squeeze the product out. I may have squeezed out a little bit too much, but I find that you can put some on and then add more if you want to, and it does lay out really well. So I'm just going to put some on the left side of my face first. And I'm going to put it on using a Victoria Beckham brush. This one is, I think this one's called the Buffer brush. And it just feels like you've really got no foundation on at all. It really is a beautiful tinted moisturizer. And as I was saying, it just goes so well with my oily skin. Now, I don't know how it would go in the middle of summer, but for the cooler months, this is just perfect. And I love the way you can see it just starting to even out my skin. It doesn't completely cover things, and it shouldn't. It is a tinted moisturizer, but I think it just gives the most beautiful look to my skin. So just what's left on the brush, I'm just going to tap a little bit on my eyelid and just pop a little bit under my eyes as well. And of course you can add, I'm just going to put a little bit more through here. You're not going to get it built up to a solid medium or anything like that, but you can build it up, and I would say it goes towards a strong light type of coverage. Now, I'm not sure whether this has any fragrance in it or not. If it does, I can't smell it, and I would say if it did have some fragrance, it would be to cover up that makeup type of smell, but there's definitely nothing overwhelming in it at all. So you can see with this side that hasn't got any on yet to the side that I've just put it on, it just gives this very healthy looking skin, and it is really natural, and I think it's perfect for a light makeup look. So I'm just going to do the other side now. Now, I would say with this tinted moisturizer, you could put it on using your fingers if you wanted to, or you could use a beauty blender. But at this stage, I've only just been using one of my brushes, like this one or my BK Beauty one, and this works really well. But I think it would work like I said, with your fingers really well or with a beauty sponge. And that's with it all on, and I just think it's really beautiful. It just surprised me. I didn't think it would work with my oily skin, but I think it just looks beautiful. I have used a couple of other tinted moisturizers, and of course, you know, I love the Chanel Le Beige as the Water Fresh tint, but I've also tried the Hourglass one, and I found that just it was too emollient for my skin, but this one, especially for this time of the year, I think is just perfect. And it definitely goes along with the whole Jones Road with they just want you to look natural and just enhance your natural beauty. And I just think it's just a stunning tinted moisturizer. Really, really beautiful. Now, because this is a tinted moisturizer and it is light coverage, then I'm going to use the Victoria Beckham, the concealer pen. I think this has such a beautiful formula. I'm just going to give it a couple of clicks. I'm not too sure how much I've got left of this, but I will be repurchasing it. I think it is beautiful. And this would give a light towards medium type of coverage, this concealer, and I think that's just perfect to go alongside a tinted moisturizer. So I'm just putting it on using a BK Beauty brush. Then I'm just going to put on some eyeshadow primer. This is the Hourglass one. I do prefer the NARS one. I have a tiny bit left of that one. But my friend Lauren over in the States, she has picked me up a couple of tubes of the NARS because it is just so hard to get here. And hopefully I will be receiving those fairly soon, and I'm really excited. I think the Hourglass one that I'm using today is really good. It's just that I prefer the NARS one. Now for my eyebrows, I'm going to use the Chanel. This is the micro pencil, and I haven't got much of this left. And the other day I ran out of the Victoria Beckham eyebrow pencil, and I thought that I had a backup of it, but I haven't. So I'm going to have to do an order with Victoria Beckham, pick up the concealer, also probably a couple of these eyebrow pencils. And then she's also just released that blush. What does she call it? I can't remember. It's a colour wash. So I might pick up one or two of those as well. So just going to pop this on. I've said it before, I'm not that fussy with my eyebrows. Really all I do is tidy them up, fill in the gaps. I don't over pluck them, but it's just something with my eyebrows. I just don't really want something to fuss around with. So I'm just happy as long as the gaps are filled and they basically look tidy. Now for powder under my eyes, I'm going to use the Tom Ford one, and I just put it on using my finger. I pick up a really small amount, just a tiny amount, press it on, and it sets the concealer, but doesn't dry it down under there, so it doesn't emphasize wrinkles. And for powder for my face, I'm going to use the new Dior. This is the Forever, it's the Nude Matte Filter. I picked up the shade, this is shade 2, and I also picked up the Radiant filter as well. Now I think these are available now on the Dior US website. I think it says to join the waiting list, but I imagine they'll be available very soon. And I did a dedicated video on that, so I'll pop a link up there if you want to take a look. So I'm going to use this. I think these are beautiful. They give this really gorgeous blurred look to the skin, and they are just really, really gorgeous. Such a beautiful powder, and when I feel my skin now, it just feels silky smooth. So I highly recommend these. And I was going to, I think I mentioned it in the video when I was reviewing the powders, that I wasn't sure which shade to pick up, but I'm really pleased that I picked up shade 2. And with Dior foundation, I used 2.5N. So I wasn't sure to begin with whether to get shade 2 or 3, but I'm really glad that I picked up the shade 2. Now for the bronzer, I want to keep things very natural, so I'm going to use the Westman Atelier. These are the Sun Tone, I think they're called bronzing drops, and this is number 1. I've also got number 2 as well. I absolutely love these. I wasn't too sure when these were first released because a lot of the Westman Atelier products for the complexion can be a little bit on the oily side, but these have a matte finish, and I think they are beautiful. They blend out like a dream, and they last all day, and I love it that they don't feel greasy at all. They do have a matte finish, but they don't dry down to this awful flat matte. They are just matte and just give such a beautiful look. So I just put a little bit on the back of my hand. You really only need quite a small amount. I'm going to use the Sonia G, the buffer brush, and just pop a little bit on. Now I want to keep this look very light, so I'm only going to put on a small amount of the bronzer. And I'm really pleased that I picked up this shade 1, because I think it's very, very natural looking and just gives that hint of that bronze look without being too overdone. So with this bronzer, it was sold out on the Westman Atelier site. I think it's now back in stock. I'm not quite sure what the stock's like at Nordstrom and Sephora, but I will have links below. I'll have a good look and see where it is available, because if you haven't tried it yet, I highly recommend them. I just think it's a gorgeous product. So for the eyeshadow today, I'm going to use a couple of the Armani ones, and these are the Longwear Luminous Liquid Eyeshadows. These are just beautiful. And as I said at the beginning of the video, I've never, I don't think, featured them in a video, and they're just too beautiful not to share. They go on really beautifully and they last all day and do not budge. They work well, of course, at this time of the year. Now it's cooler, my skin's not quite as oily, but these also work really well right in the middle of summer when it's really humid and my skin is even more oily. So the two shades that I'm going to use today is Cedar, and that's 30M, and the other shade is Sand, and that number is 9S. So I'll just put on the shade Cedar on the back of my hand and hold it up and show you. This one is matte, the one in Cedar, and the one in Sand that has a satin finish. So here we've got Cedar, and this one here is Sand. So with these eyeshadows, you can either pop a little bit on the back of your hand and pick it up with your brush doing that, or you can place it directly on your eye. So that's what I'm going to do today. I'm going to place it directly on my eye, and I'm going to start off with the Cedar shade and just put in a little bit on the outer corner, a little bit up onto the brow bone. And I'm going to blend this out. If I think that I need more, these do, once they're dried down, they definitely stay put. But if you feel like you need a little bit more, then you can definitely add to it. It doesn't lift the product that you've already put on. And I just love these. I think they're so beautiful and they blend out just like a dream. So just blend it out in the outer corner, taking it through the crease and up onto the brow bone as well. So this is a really simple eye look, but I do think the end result is really pretty. So I probably will need to just build up that colour in the outer corner just a little bit, and I can do that later on and I will show you. I also use this for under the eyes as well. So I'm going to use the same shade, the one in Cedar, and what I'm going to do is just use a Rapha brush. This is the number 3. And just take a little bit onto the brush and just put some on my lower lash line. And because once these are on, they don't budge, then they are just perfect and really last all day. So the other eyeshadow is the one in Sand. And again, you can put some on the back of your hand if you want to, or directly onto your eye. I'm going to put it directly on my eye. Just put a little bit through there, and I'm going to use another Rapha brush. This is the number 2 one, and just tap it out over the rest of the lid up through the center. And this is a really beautiful shade and just gives that really gorgeous light through there. And then if you think that you need a little bit more depth in the outer corner, then I'm just going to go back to the shade in Cedar. I actually quite like how it looks just at the moment, but I just want to show you, even though this has dried down, you can add a little bit more if you want to. So I'm just going to pack some more just in the outer corner there, and I'm going to take the Rapha number 13 brush. This is a little bit smaller than the first one I used, so it's a bit more dense, and then just blend that out. So you can definitely add depth if you want to, and it won't lift the shadow that you've already put on. And of course you can always put more shades on if you want to. The thing with this eyeshadow range from Armani, there are a lot of different shades, but often I just use 2, especially when using liquid eyeshadows. I think it just keeps it a little bit more simpler. And oftentimes when you do a simple eye look, I think they can be more beautiful than if you use a whole lot of different shades at once. So for the eyeliner, I use the Victoria Beckham one. This is the one Smoky Quartz, and it's one of my favorites. And you can see that it's a lot smaller than what they usually are. So I definitely need to do that order at Victoria Beckham Beauty and pick up another one of these as well. And the mascara that I use is a Jones Road one, and I absolutely love this as well. Now you're probably thinking I just got sent a lot of PR, but I didn't. I purchased all of the Jones Road stuff myself, but I do love the Tinted Moisturizer. I think it's just looking beautiful, and I really love this mascara as well. And I'm not really surprised that the mascara is really good, because years ago, one of the Bobbi Brown mascaras, and you can still get it. I think it's called Smoky something, and it's in a silver tube. That's a really good mascara as well. But this one gives a beautiful volume. It also gives a little bit of length, and it doesn't transfer or flake. Because a while ago, I picked up this Dior mascara. This is a new one, and for some reason I just don't have a lot of luck with Dior mascaras. I think the packaging on this is really beautiful, but I find that it gets a little bit clumpy when I apply it. And I think when I first used it, the first 2 times it was okay, and now I find that it's getting a little bit clumpy. I will give it 1 or 2 more chances before I have my final verdict on it, but definitely out of the 2, I do prefer the Jones Road one over that Dior one. So for the blush today, I'm going to use one of the newly released. This is the Bobbi Brown, the Phyto-Rouge Velvet Matte, and I got this in the shade Maple, so it's quite dark. And I'm also going to use another blush as well, and together I think they look really beautiful. Now this has 8.5 grams of product, and this is what it looks like inside. I have used it a few times already, and initially it feels like a cream, and then it goes to a powder. And it's not a really dried down powder, it's just how they describe it. It is a velvet finish. They are really beautiful. Now this also comes in a variety of shades, and I've worn this quite a few times, and I recommend these. I think these are really gorgeous. So this is the shade Maple, and this is when I've first swatched it on, and then you'll see me blend it out, and they just blend out really, really beautifully. And I blended some out just over there as well. And now they've blended it out, it does go to that beautiful powder finish and just this velvety feel. So to put this on, I'm going to use the Sonji, the buffer brush. I'm only going to pick up a small amount because this is quite a dark colour. These would also go on beautifully using your fingers, and also a beauty sponge as well. So just a really small amount, because as I said, it is quite a dark shade. But I love this type of shade for a blush as well. It just enhances the cheeks and just gives, again, that really healthy look. So you could definitely go a lot deeper than that if you want to, especially with this shade, but I don't want to. I want to keep everything very light and natural looking. Now over the top, I've been using one of the Armani Luminous Silk Cheek Tint Shines, and this is in the shade Cosmic Pink, so it definitely has that luminosity, and it looks sort of like a bubblegum pink, and it looks perhaps a little bit scary, but it is the most beautiful shade, and it's really gorgeous just by itself, but it's also really pretty over this blush, over the Maple, because brown and pink always look really gorgeous together. So I've still got the Bobbi Brown on underneath, and this is what Cosmic Pink looks like. So I'm going to use the Sonia G brush again. I'm not going to wipe that down. And what I'm going to do is place a couple of drops onto the apples of my cheeks. I want to make sure I've got an even amount on the side as I have on that side. And I'm not putting a lot on, But over the top of that maple, I just think it looks really pretty. You get that beautiful pink. And you've got that luminosity as well. But over the top of that maple shade, I just think it makes it just really special. So, so pretty. This and the shade here in the Bobbi Brown, it is a match made in heaven. I think it's just gorgeous. Now for the lipstick, I'm going to use one of the Sisley ones. These were released a while ago, and these are the velvet ones. I've only got the one shade, and this is number 10, and this is Beige Nude. These are really beautiful lipsticks. And over the top, I'm going to put one of the new Dior Lip Glow Butters. This is the one in the pink. It's really a barely there type of pink. So this on first, and then a little bit of the Lip Glow Butter on top. Now I did want to mention that a while ago I picked up the YSL Love Shine Plumping Lip Oil Gloss, and I picked up the shade 44 Nude Lavalier. Now I love shade number 44 in the YSL, the lipstick range, and I love this one too. But just be warned that these have, it's definitely quite a prickly feeling when you put them on your lips. So they definitely do plump, but there's definitely a spice to them when you put them on. And I've used quite a few different ones, and this is the most prickly that I've used out of the ones that I have previously purchased. Now it doesn't really bother me. Now I can imagine if people don't like that for a plumping gloss, then you wouldn't like this, but I do think it is really lovely. And the shade number 44 is just beautiful, but just be aware that they do have that really spicy, prickly feeling. It doesn't last for ages, but definitely a good 5 to 10 minutes. So first of all, I'm just going to put on a Dior lip liner.
The river flows one direction, and fishes, they follow the flow. What if one tried to mention that there was much more to explore? Here I am.
And here is the finished look, and I love this. I've worn this look probably about 2 or 3 times now with these exact products, and I think it's just a very natural, everyday type of look. This Jones Road Tinted Moisturizer is just fabulous. It surprised me. I think it's just beautiful. I find at this time of the year that I don't need to repowder throughout the day. I can imagine if the weather was warmer or heading into summer, then I probably would need to repowder, or probably use a bit more powder at the beginning, but it's really lovely. If you weren't too sure about it and you've got combination to oily skin like me, then I would definitely give the Jones Road Tinted Moisturizer a go. I think it's just beautiful. I love the Armani liquid eyeshadows. I think they are gorgeous. I know that they're going to stay put, and my eye look's going to look exactly the same 10 hours later tonight when I remove my makeup. I really like the Bobbi Brown, the Velvet Blush. I think it is gorgeous. I'm just trying to look for it here in front of me. Really beautiful. And I'm not sure why I picked up the shade, because it's quite dark. Normally for, if I'm trying out a blush, I go for a coral or some type of pink. But I just thought this would look really pretty. And I think it is really lovely on its own, but together with that Armani, the blush over the top, this Luminous one and the Cosmic Pink, I just think it is so, so pretty. The Sisley lipstick is beautiful. It's a velvet formula, but it's not too drying. It's very smooth when it goes on. But over top of a velvet lipstick, I often put a little bit of gloss over the top, and I think it goes really well with that Dior one. I think together they look really beautiful. So let me know in the comments below if you have any of these products and what you think of them. So that's it for today's video. I would love it if you gave it a like and subscribed, and I will see you next time. Bye.